According to NBC News, 17% of people with a felony conviction are homeless after their first year out of prison. People incarcerated for a felony conviction can only vote in 2 states, but in 10 states, released prisoners who committed certain felonies are permanently stripped of their voting rights. Creating barriers to reentry doesn't benefit society or ex-convicts, and doing so violates human rights, disrupts communities, and contributes to racial and economic divisions in our country.
Reentry is never an easy process for the formerly incarcerated. Sarah Pace, a staff attorney with the NorCal Innocence Project, explained some of the challenges they face.
I mean, getting health insurance, finding a job, finding housing. So these are all things that our clients need help with when they come home.
One example she named, housing, is an extremely important part of reentry, but the Prison Policy Initiative reported that formerly incarcerated people are nearly 10 times more likely to become homeless. Fortunately, regulations implemented the Fair Housing and Employment Act with respect to criminal histories in 2020. This allowed limits on the kind of criminal history information a housing provider can access, and required that there be a criminal conviction with direct and specific negative impact on the interests of the housing provider in order to deny housing. Another important part of reentry is finding employment. Getting a job, which is often the first step for formerly incarcerated people to find housing, get health insurance, etc., is often made more difficult for people with felony convictions. Melissa Dickerson, who was formerly incarcerated on a felony conviction, spoke to us about her experience.
No one would even consider me because my conviction was so recent. So it definitely affected my job search. I was rejected repeatedly for jobs that I was very qualified for simply based on my background.
Assemblymember McCarty, who authored the Fair Chance Act, also known as Ban the Box, sought to make the process easier. We spoke to its legislative director, Garrett Jensen, about what the bill put into effect in 2018 entails.
The Fair Chance Act, or Ban the Box Bill, was a measure taken by Senator McCarthy to remove the question on applications regarding former felon incarceration and to prohibit employers from asking prospective employees about prior felony convictions. We need to give them a fair chance to get employed because employment is a critical tool that will reduce their likelihood of returning to prison. Let's let them try to get their feet beneath them by removing some of the barriers that we've set in the past that we know don't work.
We all do things that we definitely aren't proud of, and some of us get caught while we're doing it. And I think especially the employment world, if people would understand that people can change, and just because they were not in a good place at a certain point in their life, that doesn't mean that's who they are today.
Furthermore, once people come out of incarceration, those with felony convictions experience barriers to voting.
The act of removing rights from people with felony convictions has been in practice since the Civil War and Reconstruction era. Lawmakers across the country introduced laws permanently disenfranchising people convicted of felonies. And because black people were and are overly policed and criminalized, this resulted in a dilution of the marginalized vote. These underlying racist ideas are put into law, and many of them have maintained their effects through the modern era.
Even in California, formerly incarcerated people on probation could not vote until 2020, when AB 646 and ACA 6, also authored by Assemblymember McCarty, passed in the state legislature.
That's not justice. That's not enfranchisement. Because if these people are to be released from prison, they are going to be a part of our community, our society. They're going to be going to our schools, visiting our parks, and using our city services. We should make sure that they have all the rights we do, even though they made this mistake. Through ACA 4 this year, stating that even folks who are currently serving felony sentences should still maintain the right to vote. We only have 90,000 incarcerated. That means 90,000 voices are not heard while they are serving their felony sentences.
As a society, we must shatter the barriers hindering the reintegration of formerly convicted individuals. Support initiatives like the Prison Policy Initiative, vote, and educate yourselves on the different policies that shape the lives of the formerly incarcerated. Every action contributes to a more supportive environment for those transitioning back into society. Join the movement for fair opportunities and positive change.